What up, though? It's Lady Vet with BMF Season 3, Episode 5, The Battle of Techwood. In my opinion, there were many battles at the same time, with bodies dropping everywhere. Last time we were together, we saw the Flannery siblings laughing, playing video games, and having a good time together as a family. What we know is that the 5th episode is fire, and in this one, it was lit from beginning to end. Just as expected, no disappointments, all the characters moved up a couple of levels. Terry went back to Atlanta with Mitch, and of course they went to the Platinum Palace, along with Loco and his day one. There was no sign of greenery. Guess he's still recuperating from the Mitch beatdown. Mitch had a chance to tell Loco how much Terry helped him with the shipment, and Loco became appreciative of Terry, letting him know with a handshake. Maybe Loco will learn to like Terry after all. Stax approached Mitch with a big grin. He met Terry and welcomed him to Atlanta. Then Stax noticed Remy in the building and pointed him out to Mitch. So they did what they do. They stomped on Remy, creating chaos in the club. After rumbling with Remy, and after the night ended, the crews parted ways, with Diesel heading in the same direction as Stax. Terry and Mitch stood outside the club looking across the street, where they saw the world champ Mac attack. They crossed over to speak and get a closer look at his pimped-out Rolls Royce. As Mitch and Terry got a car demonstration from Mac, they all heard shots ring out nearby and assumed the get-low position. When the smoke settled, Tina noticed Diesel had been hit. Mitch and Terry rushed over, but there was nothing that they could do. Diesel was gone. Mitch understood that he had to move more strategically now that his enemies were all around him, and yet another Detroit was going home in a body bag. Mitch reported to the crew that he made arrangements for Diesel. Now that Stax is back, he had the loudest voice, as usual, saying that it's Remy because of getting jumped in the club, saying that he sprayed the whole yard. Stax suggested that they get revenge for the violation, but that they do it in Techwood. Everyone knew that going to Techwood was like committing suicide, but Stax told them that he had someone who had been sneaking him in and out. Just as Mitch seemed to go along with the idea, Terry interjected that they still needed to do business in St. Louis. When Mitch talked about demonstrating for the violation of Diesel, Stax was the loudest voice in the room. In Detroit, Charles was still fighting for his marriage, so he summoned Sister Riley from Pastor Swift's church. Nope, it was not to flirt with her. He wanted her to help him with a song that he wrote for Lucille. As Sister Riley looked over the song with the willingness to help Charles get the message to Lucille, Estelle grabbed her takeout and saw Charles and yet another woman. First thought, this cheater. Estelle couldn't wait to run and tell Lucille what she knows. Bryant was being let out of jail when he was informed that his car was impounded and his ride was waiting outside. Bryant is an OG cop from the streets, so he wasn't going down without a fight. He got in the car with Henry's people thinking 2 steps ahead of them, and he would be on his way. First, he asked about having a cigarette and got the cigarette lighter going. As he was told that Henry was waiting to see him, he unbuckled his seatbelt to assist with his escape. Just as he was attacked, he fought back, used the lighter to burn his attacker, bailed out the moving car, and ran away. Mitch and Terry arrived at Mitch's place where Terry thought to give Mitch a history lesson. Mitch reminded Terry that he was riding with Ty Washington's crew and that family is everything. Terry wanted to know why would Mitch insert himself in something that doesn't concern him, but Mitch assured him that it did. Terry proceeded with the lesson of attempting to cap Remy on his own territory as being a big mistake for Mitch. Meech didn't care for the history lesson, but Tia insisted that Meech understood the value in having home field advantage. Meech believed that Remy would be complacent in his own hood. Weakness and Stax seems to go together lately, so Stax acted as Techwood tour guide while taking Meech and Terry on a recon of the area. Stax's life was vested on Meech getting killed, so he staged everything to work to his advantage. Now back at the police station, Jen wanted to know if Colby got Lenny to talk. Since he had 3 strikes against him, yes, she did. He wanted to sing like a bird. He told them that he got the ambulance for Twan, who works for a guy named Henry. Poor Henry, she can't catch a break. Henry's guys got back to tell her to take another L because Bryant got away. But Henry wasn't treating this one lightly. Matter of fact, Henry decided to test Chuck since he couldn't handle Bryant and called Bryant a savage. So Henry showed Chuck what a savage looked like. He fought the girl Henry and died. Henry pulled protection from Kevin and told her guys to find Bryant and she would handle him herself. As Rip was listening to his music, Meech approached and he gave him a track that he worked on. He told Meech to put it in the streets if something ever happened to him. Meech didn't want the game for Rip, so he gave him the tape back and told him to do it himself because he is done in the streets. Meech told Rip how he watched his dad mess up his music dreams, and he didn't want that for Rip. Duffy and T came back after practicing at the shooting range, and Meech and T made jokes about the past when they were kids. On a more serious note, T asked Meech what's up with Stax and his disappearing acts. Meech told T that he was moves ahead of him and that he got eyes on Stax. Then he did what Terry hated the most. Meech reminded him that he is the younger brother and Big Meech is the older brother, so listen to him, something that Terry didn't always want to do. Pastor Fleming visited Lucille to ask her to take on the role as assistant pastor. She considered Lucille's profile as a wife and mother, and that Lucille brought in the biggest donation in their church's history, thanks to Dr. Maurice. Lucille wanted to pray on it before deciding. Lucille knows that she's got secrets that led her to that church in the first place. Angel guided a closed-eyes Meech to a private space that she rented for them. Meech was impressed at Angel's boss move and played along. Angel turned on the music and lit the stage where she had placed Meech's chair for a private dance. Angel was also wanting Meech to know that she feared losing him, but he assured her not to worry about him, and what started as a dance ended with them using that same stage to do what they do. I don't know if Estelle ate her takeout first or not, but she rushed over to Lucille to tell her about seeing Charles with another woman, and she wanted to help Lucille throw Charles out of the house. Isn't that like your friend with your best interest at heart? She cared so much that she thought it best for you and your man to be apart and wanted to help get him out of the house physically. Who appointed Estelle to this task? Well, Estelle's efforts worked for a minute or two, at least long enough to get Lucille in the wait position with a bat in hand for Charles. Charles reversed that foolishness with his song. Lucille didn't believe Charles, but he did what needed to be done. He proved himself by singing the lyrics to Lucille. I don't think that Charles went to his room. I'm just saying. The visionary Meech had his vision laid out on the table when Angel was about to leave for work. Meech explained that he was putting his vision for the future in front of him. Angel called Meech ambitious when a sudden knock came to Meech's door. It was Tina telling Meech that she did what he asked and that he was right about Stax playing them. Now T knows that Meech had eyes on Stacks. Tina told them that the MKs did the drive-by that killed Diesel, not Remy. Meech said that Stacks was going to walk them into an ambush, and T wanted to know what's next. Meech believed that Stacks and the MKs are still working with their previous knowledge, so he wanted to switch the table around. Meech wanted to team up temporarily with Remy to put the MKs down. Duffy was done with Stacks, but Meech brought Duffy and the group's attention to the bigger picture. Survival. Because they were no match for the MKs, Meech told the crew what he wanted to do with Remy for the greater good of their organization. The crew stood with Meech. Duffy was the first up to ride with Meech. Jen and Colby were still working when she asked Colby why she didn't tell her that her dad was being re-elected. Colby told Jen how her dad treated her when she was in rehab, and that's why she doesn't return his calls. Nor did he visit her when she was in rehab, because he thought that it could interfere with his political career. Jen wanted to tell Colby about Bryant, but not at the station, so she asked Colby over to her place. Meech rolled up to the Techwood Projects to meet with Remy, but things did not go as planned. A resident phoned Stacks with an update of Meech and his crew's appearance. Bryant headed to see Kevin only to find that Henry had pulled his protection. Kevin was battered and bruised and abused. He told his father that he was also pinned down and raped. With all of Bryant's promises to get Kevin out, he got the look that no father wants, the look from your child that hope is gone and they no longer believe in your words. Jen and Colby made it to her place long enough to get caught up on Bryant's recent behavior with the ambulance and Jen getting shot. Colby asked Jen to not keep her in the dark anymore. Jen agreed, and they thought to get Bryant connected to the Henry guy for an arrest. The detectives got drunk and tried their voices at karaoke. Meech, no stranger to danger, and his crew had planted their feet on Techwood ground, and no doubt Remy was aware. So much so, he thought that Meech came waving the white flag. Meech set the story straight, though, that he and his crew do not surrender, but he tried to get Remy to see the advantage of them working together for the greater good. Remy did not agree with Meech and wanted nothing to do with him or his idea. Remy's day one Claude tried to help Remy understand the big picture, but Remy was too stubborn. Meanwhile, the drunk detectives were still singing karaoke when a pounding came at Jen's door. It was Bryant, needing Jen's help. Jen asked who was Henry, and Colby chimed in, "Just cuff Bryant and arrest him." He told her to shut up so that he could talk about Kevin, but couldn't get another word in due to Henry bringing a battle to Jen's doorstep. At the same time, the real battle at Techwood was on the way, and so was Stacks and the MKs. They were barely warned by the lookout before the MKs brought him down from the roof. Young Mill's dad blamed Remy for the death of his son, reminding him that he promised to take care of them and failed. Henry blamed Bryant for her mishaps, and so it was that she set out to do her own dirty work. In this instance, she wanted Bryant dead. Bryant and Jen fought back until Henry's crew left at her orders. Why was Colby not fighting back? She was hit several times and was down. Jen called for help, and Bryant apologized before leaving the scene. Meech and his crew were under heavy fire from Stacks and the MKs. Duffy told T to make every shot count. Meech had taken cover near a wall when he saw Rip hit by Glock. Meech ran to Rip, but that's all he could do. before Rip was gone. The MKs were many and was closing in when Terry, covered by Duffy, ran out, secured a weapon that got him to Meech. BMF was very low on firepower, with the MKs coming to finish them off. But not so fast. Let's not write BMF off. The MKs got a surprise pushback when Sterl and the PA boys showed up with force and numbers. Terry and Meech dragged Rip with them as the PA boys provided much-needed cover, not to the liking of Glock. So here comes Stacks, again with the loudest voice, yelling at Meech about getting out of there in time, and yells that next time he won't be so lucky. Glock was so fed up with Stacks that he shot him with his pistol. Then he finished him off with his rifle on automatic. Back at the Flannery household, Lucille was stayed with her mind on Dr. Maurice and feeling herself when Charles came into her room and her bed, begging. Lucille told Charles that he could get some, and then he had to go back to his room. Lucille is truly entangled with Charles and Maurice. Nevertheless, Charles was taking whatever he could get. Although an exciting episode, there is no ending like the ending of a child's life, especially at his own doing. Bryant was called in to say his goodbyes as a lifeless Kevin lay on the death table. Kevin left Bryant a note of love. He also provided his final drawings for his dad. No words for this moment. Gloom filled the air. There were bodies everywhere throughout Atlanta and Detroit. No words were also being said at Meech's home until he said that he would get Rip's music out there. T wanted Meech to clean up and come back with them to Detroit. Meech vowed to stay in the war in Atlanta rather than go home with his tail tucked between his legs. T understood, but wanted his brother to stand by his side against the battle of he and Henry at home. For the first time, T would go into battle without big brother Meech. Meech told T to take care of his family in Detroit, and he would do the same for his family in Atlanta. As Meech's Atlanta family looked on, Big Meech gave the utmost gratitude to Sterl and the PA boys for coming through for BMF. By far, the best episode of the season, in my opinion. Stay tuned for the aftermath of this episode. Don't forget to thank a veteran. Subscribe, like, and drop your comments in the box. Thanks for your time, guys.